Fighting hard against hit-and-run drivers. That story is next on City Corner. Welcome to City Corner. April 12th, 2016 is a date that Tiffanie Stanfield will never forget. And what happened that day led to the formation of a group fighting hard. We're going to explain more about that in just a moment. But first, let's welcome Tiffanie Stanfield along with Deerra Williams. Hi to both of you.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
You have quite a compelling story that we want to share with our viewers today, Tiffanie. And it was just about 2 years ago that you received a phone call from your nephew. What happened that day?
You're taking me to a place that I did not expect to, but I will. That day was it was a tough day. My sister pretty much had a standard routine.
And your sister was who?
Jamaica Stanfield was my younger sister, and she had a standard routine. So when I received the call from my nephew with the concern of where's my mom, she's not home. It's a school day, you know, typical. Oh, well, okay, maybe she went to work early. It could, you know, a number of. So at the time I was at the office, but in my gut, I felt something wasn't right. This, you know, it's, again, an abnormal pattern for her. It was a news story that had come on. You typically start doing research. You know, you check your Facebook pages, you start, you know, last time you post, et cetera. You know, you go through kind of a ritual of down a path of contacting friends, et cetera. But it was a day that I continued with work, but was feeling something's not right in my gut.
You can't get a hold of your sister.
I can't get a hold of my sister, and nor has anyone spoken with her. I never take my cell phone into meetings, but this particular meeting, I felt that I needed to keep my phone with me. And I recall specifically, continuously, I put the phone behind me on a table, and I kept looking back at my phone, feeling like there's something that I need to know. That day, interesting enough, was that I felt something wasn't right. The medical examiner's office didn't call me. I called them and told them, you're looking for me. You're looking to contact me.
And you didn't even know that?
I had no clue.
What did they tell you?
At the time, I proceeded to say, you know, I've been contacting my sister. I know that it's possible, you know, you just look at her cell phone. This is I'm feeling like you have my sister. And during that call, you know, giving them descriptions and the make and model of her phone, et cetera, the style of her phone. And my story had to have been enough for him to unofficially say, yes, we have your sister.
She had been the victim. What happened to her?
She had been a victim of a hit-and-run driver traveling 80 to 90 miles per hour, and left her to die.
Was she driving a car also?
No. So my sister was actually, the witness account states that she chirped her car, stepped off the curb, and that was the last that they saw her. To walk across the street to her car.
When we began the program, I talked about an organization fighting hard. And HARD stands, H-A-R-D, stands for hit and run drivers. So you're fighting against hit and run drivers.
Fighting against hit and run drivers.
And it's because of what happened to your sister, the story that you just described, led you to form that organization.
Correct. Even after my sister's death, there were 2 additional pedestrian hit and run fatalities within that week. The following month, I start to hear more and more stories. And although I'm in this grieving process, I also felt that I was getting lost in the shuffle and understanding more about her case, more about the vertical, more about the focus. but I didn't have any direction.
So what you're doing is trying to bring awareness to this whole issue of
Correct.
hit-and-run drivers. And why did you bring Deerra Williams with you today?
So as I thought about this organization, and I started digging more into pedestrian hit and runs, I started to look at a timeline of a trend of hit and runs that have taken place here, not only in the city of St. Louis, but as a region as a whole. And I identified a story which was a victim of Sean Williams. Sean Williams is Deerra's brother, who was a victim of a hit and run.
Deerra, and this was something like 8 years ago. And is it true that this is the first time?
It's September 28th, it will be 10 years.
10 years. But you've really never spoke about this before.
No. No.
Why did you decide that you were able to do that today?
It's a healing process, something to bring awareness. When she contacted me, I was willing to speak out about it.
Tell me about your brother.
Okay, Sean Williams was a big-time fashion designer in St. Louis.
Fashion designer?
Yes. That year, he was debuting his collection at St. Louis Fashion Week, a week after he passed away. So he was, before all that happened, he was supposed to debut his collection, St. Louis Fashion Week. He went to Lindenwood University, got his degree in fashion design. I ended up transferring schools to get my fashion design degree, and he ended up being my student teacher.
Really?
So that year was, 2008 was one year to remember.
Tell me about the day he died. What do you know about it?
We were celebrating his 23rd birthday downtown on Olive, one of the nightclubs on Olive, downtown St. Louis. I remember walking in with his balloons, and he said, "I'll be right back." Mind you, as we was growing up, our father always told us to look after each other. So when he didn't come back within like 5 minutes, I'm like, what's going on?
You're in the club, having fun with people, right?
No. It haven't even started. We were just setting up his balloons, his cake. We were just setting up his section. We invited all our models, a lot of people from out of town and in town as well, to celebrate his birthday.
He excuses himself to go back outside?
Yes, he got his key to the car, and he said, "I'll be right back." And somebody came and said, family member is outside. Instantly, I knew that was my brother.
What happened
I just
exactly?
seen flashing. As soon as I walked out, I seen flashing lights. I seen him on the ground. The driver kept going. It was a hit and run. He was drunk driver. He kept going.
Was your brother walking on the sidewalk?
He was
or what?
actually turning the key to the car.
Standing at his door?
That's what I was told, yes.
Wow. Do you remember anything after that?
The security guard had to catch the guy who, like 3 blocks away, I think on Jefferson, to stop him.
Tiffanie, since you started Fighting Hard, the group that addresses this, fighting hit and run drivers, you must have heard a lot of stories, and each one's got to be different.
Each one is very different. As I read through some of the cases, as I read through some of the logistics surrounding the hit and run, whether it's the vicinity of the hit and run, the content, whether it's a sibling, a cousin, it's been every story is a compelling story to me.
I guess probably, is alcohol always involved? Not necessarily in a hit and run though, right?
It's very difficult to identify the reasons behind the hit and run. It's one of the issues, it's actually one of the pillars of the organization, is because it's hard to prosecute a hit and run case because it's very difficult to determine if it's a distracted driving case, if it's a drunk driving case, if it's a texting driving case, is it someone just committing a crime and
because all those charges would be different.
Correct. Every charge would be different, and unfortunately, in the state of Missouri, there's only a minimum penalty for hit and run fatalities.
Deerra, can you explain how what happened to your family affected your family, and the fact that it was a hit and run driver, did that make it any different than if it had been something else?
No, it would have made no difference. Like I said, I haven't opened up about this at all, so.
And this has been 10 years.
It's been, 10 years. So it's hard to speak about it, and our family you know, we just stick together.
Obviously, something you probably always deal with. How do you feel that the organization Tiffanie started, does that make you feel better about anything? Has it helped you or your family, and how?
Most definitely. To bring awareness. I wanted to reach out about this, do a nonprofit organization just like her, to bring awareness, because it's not really talked about in our community.
Mm-hmm.
But what can you really do about it, Tiffanie? A hit-and-run driver, what can you do?
Well, there's several things that we can do. One is what we're doing now. We're raising awareness to the fact that pedestrian hit-and-run fatalities are increasing at an alarming rate, which is one of our pillars. Another pillar is to raise awareness to what's happening with the families beyond the hit and run itself. These families that we've identified in Deerra's case are still being impacted by this hit and run fatality. Here we are 10 years later. And the fact that this driver only did 3-year probation?
3 year.
3-year probation, not any jail time.
No, 3 years in jail.
I'm sorry, 3 years in jail, but this is a 10-year, she will never, her loved one is gone.
Yeah.
So when I think about the mandatory minimums, I think about other services, the grieving counseling services that we can provide to family, but more importantly, just to know that there is an organization in place specifically focused on pedestrian hit and run fatalities. And that is something that did not exist for me when I was working through my grief and my sister's case.
I feel the same way. 10 years ago, I couldn't reach out to anybody. I feel like her organization really helped me.
You know, Deerra, the person that was driving that car that day got a 3-year sentence, but I guess you could look at your family got a life sentence.
Yes.
How's everybody else dealing with
Just
this?
holding up. We still holding up.
Mm-hmm. I remember contacting Deerra, and actually it took several calls. I think that she was kind of confused on whether we were legitimate or not.
but we figured that out, Deerra. Tiffanie, we're going to take a break, and we're going to meet some other people that have personal stories too, but just in a couple of seconds, you have an event coming up on April the 12th. Tell us about that.
Yes, we will be honoring my sister, Jamaica Stanfield, in addition to other families that have been impacted by hit-and-run driving on April 12th at River City Event Center. And we would love for individuals to sponsor a family, donate, or just come out and hear our stories regarding hit-and-run, pedestrian hit-and-run fatalities.
All right. Well, Tiffanie will be back in the second half of the next segment of the program with a couple of other people. Deerra, thank you so much for coming along, and be strong. I guess there's really nothing I can say to you, but I appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be back with more of Fighting Hard after this.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
I'm Steve Potter. Welcome back to City Corner. Fighting Hard, H-A-R-D, that's Fighting Hit and Run Drivers. That's an organization that's holding a fundraiser coming up on April the 12th. At the far end of the couch is Tiffanie Stanfield. We spoke to her earlier. She founded the organization. And to her right is Dajshia Brown. And also with us today is Yolanda Barksdale. Thank you both for coming, and you have personal stories too. But Tiffanie, if I can go back to you, just sort of recap your organization of Fighting Hard, Hit and Run Drivers. Is there any other organization in the country, you started this here in St. Louis, that does what you do?
There's extensive research, absolutely not. There are several organizations focused on distracted driving, drunk driving, but not hit and run driving.
So why did you form this organization, just briefly? What's your main point?
The main point of this organization is not only to honor my sister, who I lost to a hit and run, to a hard, but also to support families that have long-term impact of hit and run fatalities.
And are you concerned about the laws that are now in the books, and what's the problem as far as you're concerned?
The problem is that there are only mandatory minimums for, and then it's very difficult to prove a hit and run.
So what would you like to see happen?
I would like to see the laws change. I would like to see there be an increase in mandatory minimums. And I would also like to see a little bit more of a focus on families that have been impacted by hit and run fatalities.
All right. Well, let's share some stories of the two ladies that you brought here today. Yolanda, if I could start with you.
Sure.
How did this affect you, and what family member are we talking about?
It was my cousin, Montez Horton. We called him Monty. And my story is Montez had mental illness. And
Of what sort?
I believe manic depression and bipolar. He wouldn't take his medicine, but he died from the result of a hit and run.
Can you describe what happened, that circumstance, and when did it happen?
It happened January the 9th, and this is recent. So
of this year?
Of this year.
2018.
2018 is still going on for us, the process and everything that me and my family is aware of. Montez was originally from Kansas City, and he was down here. My aunt placed him down here, and I was like the mentor for him. So
he came to live here, and you were
yes, helping him. And when he turned 18, he didn't want to take his medicine, and I guess he decided to cross the highway.
Where was that?
I-55 right into 70, going toward downtown.
So he was going somewhere?
Going somewhere, and his car hit him. There were two women that saw it, and this person kept going. And I think, from what I know, Montez died on impact because they tried to help him, and nothing. They took him to the hospital, but he died.
And if I'm correct, after reading your story, they actually located the driver at the Casino Queen.
At
is
the
that correct?
Lumiere Casino.
At the Lumiere, okay.
Yes.
At the Casino Queen, if I'm correct.
The Lumiere.
Lumiere.
Right up the street. Right up.
What was his explanation? Was there one?
They called out for the license plate and the car number. He wouldn't answer, so they had to go to him.
Someone got his license number?
Yes,
Yeah.
the two women that witnessed it, that were behind him once he hit him.
And what did he have to, did he explain it to you in any way?
No, according to the trooper, they said that he denied it, but they found evidence on his car.
Right. And what happened to him?
Well, they processed him. It's still in the...
The case is still ongoing.
Right, it just happened.
So unfortunately,
Yeah.
we can't really speak on the specifics of the case. It's still
Right.
an ongoing case.
Yes.
Right.
It's rather new.
That was like yesterday.
Yes.
How was your family holding up?
Well, for me, I would see Monty a lot every day, even though his situation, he frequented my neighborhood. The Cherokee district, he was very popular over there. And when I would leave to go to the store, run errands, I would see people that kind of resemble him. And I would say, that's not him. You know, he's gone. That's not him. Yeah.
Dajshia, what's your story? And was yours fairly recent also?
It happened Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve of this year. Who are we talking about?
My sister, Ranisha Kevin.
What happened on Christmas Eve?
Well, I came in from town because I stayed in Kansas City, and we was getting together to have like a family night for Christmas. And
Ranisha's story is fairly recent. Ranisha was hit on Christmas Eve, but she didn't die until recently.
Till January the 10th.
Was she in a coma or something that entire time?
Yeah.
Well, she was pregnant, So they had to keep her alive long enough to...
So you were never able to speak to her after the accident?
No, I talked to her before the accident, but it was just like, it was 5 of them, including my son. So it was like, I'm running back and forth from Bourne. I'm running from Corner Glennon. So it was like, I really couldn't, have that time until it was actually time for her to actually leave.
Can you tell me where it happened and
It happened on the highway, like by St. Louis Avenue and Madison exit.
Mm-hmm. What were the circumstances? Was she walking or?
No, she was actually in the car. She was the driver. And from my understanding, when I got to the scene and I talked to everybody, it was a car that tried to merge onto the highway. And like, as he was merging on, she moved over, but it was like they kept on swerving. So as they swerving, she trying to, get away from their car, and somehow the back of the car had hit the front of my car. And she spent out of control and winded up sideways on the highway. And the driver kept going, and another car, I guess they didn't see her or whatnot, and another car came to hit them. So it was like the back of the car was gone.
Double impact.
Yeah, and from there.
I think Renisha's story is extremely compelling for me. When I read her story, it's about the impact, the family impact, because they're still dealing with not only a newborn that was born after Renisha passed, but her son, who's 7, was in the car, who's wheelchair bound. So there's additional impact beyond this hit and run that this family is still dealing with. It's why this story is extremely compelling, because there's more happening beyond the hit and run. And
Dajshia, I know this is very recent for you. I'll ask you the same question I asked Yolanda. How do you see Fighting Hard, that organization, helping you or your family, and how you feel about things?
When it happened, it was like before she even passed, they already was saying that she was dead. So it was like I never talked to the officer. I only talked to him one time. Still to this day, I had to go down to the headquarters and talk to him. So it's basically like when I talked to him, I was like, so it's just like she got hit, she's dead, is nothing or whatnot. So it's like I wanted to speak out about it because it's like she said before, her baby was born. They had to take the baby out of her. I'm back in St. Louis. I have to help my mama raise a baby again. And like she said, my son was involved in it. And it's like every night, my son, he be like, Mama, all I remember is closing my eyes. He said, what happened to everybody in the car? How did we get out the car? A 7-year-old.
Right.
When I told him that she passed, he was in rehab. He couldn't barely talk on anything. So it was just like, what do I do? Who can I talk to about the situation? Right. And when she reached out, like she said, I didn't know it was real or not. It was just like, okay. But then when she started telling me about the thing, I was just like, this is a way to get my sister's story heard. Since I'm the police officer not involved for real.
Yolanda, when you hear Dajshia talk, even though both your stories and circumstances are totally different, there must be something that you feel that bonds you.
Yes. Pretty much the same area of the highway, but my heart goes out to her for her loss and the children that are going to have to live through life with this.
Is there anything that the person can tell someone in your situation? There's nothing really, is there?
There's nothing really, but I appreciate people like Tiffanie, and there's hope, and this is a start, and with her motivation, something can be done.
Tiffanie, so you founded this organization, Fighting Hard, Hit and Run Drivers, Fighting Hit and Run Drivers. This is going to be your first fundraiser.
It is.
Coming up on April 12th. What have you got planned?
A healing process. To start the healing process amongst many families, for them to know that there is someone that loves them and support them first. That's the #1 plan. During this fundraiser gala, we have a national recording artist, Kiera Sheard's going to perform, Brian Owens.
Oh, I know Brian very well.
Brian Owens was actually the first to raise his hand and said, how can we support you? How can I help you? So when I get responses like that, those that I just put it out there and say, hey, I'm starting this organization, I lost my sister, I would love your support, and these two artists definitely support, and since then we have received extreme amount of support since.
So you're going to have a couple of people perform. What else is going to happen that evening?
Obviously there will be dinner. We will honor my sister, but we will also honor their loved ones. We're going to honor them and letting them know that we see your story. We support your story.
How prevalent is this? How many Yolandas and Dajshias are there out there?
Thus far, I've identified 26 families in the St. Louis region, and there are more, but thus far I've identified 26 here recently that have been identified by hit-and-run fatalities, ranging from ages 6 years to 82 years of age.
Mm-hmm. So if someone wants to support your organization and attend this event, what should they do?
If you are a family, and which is our #1 focus, to contact us immediately. We'd love to honor your loved one at www.fightinghard.org.
It's a Fighting Hard dinner and gala, April 12th, 6 p.m.
And if you want to donate or sponsor a family, you can go to the website as well. I think that what makes me more excited about what's happening right now is that every one of these shows and stories that are being told, people have aha moments. They're having aha moments that there's an average of 1,500 fatalities annually.
We just have a couple moments left. Yolanda or Dajshia, is there anything that we could do, either in the legal system or anything, that would make this better for people that are in your situation? Does anything come to mind? Is there anything that you feel strongly about?
Awareness. Awareness and changing laws. Yeah, awareness. I don't think people are actually aware of the severity of it.
I agree.
Dajshia?
I agree with her. Awareness is like, I said before, it's like we don't have no information. It's just like it happened.
So Tiffanie, I know you'd like to see some changes in the law. Is there anything else that can make a difference?
Awareness makes a difference is because what we do is we would not only make you aware, we will continue to educate people on the severity of it, in addition to educating drivers on staying on the scene. So all of that's important.
Thank you so much. We wish you best of luck on April the 12th. I hope you have a great event. And Yolanda and Dajshia, I know it's such a personal story, and we really appreciate you coming here and sharing it with us. And
thank you for having us.
the best to you and your families.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Potter, and that's all we have on this edition of City Corner. We appreciate you watching. Join us next time.